and welcome back to the Quake Pro League. We've already got one series done and dusted. It was 2-1 between Nosfer and Hron, and now we've got a next matchup here, Dan, between Maxter and psygib. And well, to see what psygib can do here. We know he's been riding that struggle bus a little bit, same in Hron's position as well. Of course, picks and bans is going to be, surely it's going to show exactly what could entail later on. But we'll find out as Max is playing, I feel, a lot better in terms of his recent form.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think psygib again has had a bit of a tough season so far, and you can see it there. He's been picking up maps here and there, but nowhere near enough series, beating out, say, Chain and Sib, who you generally would expect him to, but across the board, they're even, for instance, losing to Hron. We saw how good Hron can be, but it's still a little bit of a surprise for a stalwart like psygib to drop a series there, considering the season Hron has had. So it's been really, really tough, and he's just somebody that has all the right ingredients, but just doesn't play polished enough to beat the best of the best. And he's going up against an opponent today who, as you just said, has been going from absolute strength to strength this season, and in my books once again could be somebody to upset the very best players leading this Quake comp.
Certainly could do. psygib has been scraping maps here and there, even against a couple of top players as well. And Max said this is going to be very important for him. Currently 6th on the leaderboard, playing 11 matches. And now he wants to continue making sure he can have that best seed possible, but obviously secure that top 8 spot so he can have a day off on the Friday going on to the Saturday. And as you can see, these are his previous results. And, you know, we did say before that, you know, early on it was a little bit of a struggle. Like, he had some good results against Hron, Chain and Tox, etc. Did have his moments in the, you know, struggling against Kilson, and even lost to Dramas at one stage as well, 2-1. That was a big win for Dramas there. But yeah, look at his recent form, as you mentioned before here, Dan, you know, being Nosfer 2-1, and Sib actually managed to get a map off Maxter previously, but the 3-0s against Avik and Strong Sage was big for Maxter.
Yeah, a little bit erratic at the start of the season, dropping to Sirius, for instance, there, the 3-0 against Venga, nothing to sniff at, but still, you would expect him to potentially pick up a map. But yeah, he's been building his way into this series now, and he's been looking better and better. And, you know, catching up with him, watching his streams, watching him practice, he looks in scary form at the moment whenever I've watched him play, and I just feel he's going to be continuing that momentum today. And there's definitely still areas of his game he knows himself he can improve upon, and that's definitely going to be, obviously, his focus is pushing up the levels across the board in terms of his game now before the finals.
Yeah, in the last Quake World Championships, even though he placed third, it was one of those things where you could see the massive difference in skill. Well, I wouldn't say massive difference in skill, but in terms of like dueling experience and adaptation there, it was like his aim skill is always going to be there consistently across the board. We've seen it time and time again. That's not something he needs to really worry about at all. But his adaptation has been absolutely key. There's been some other minor constructive pieces to the puzzle for Maxter, which he had to fix, like his ammo management and his weaponry at times. But he's kind of corrected that time and time again, and fixed his timings a little bit more as well as he's gone along the way. So I'm excited to see what he can do in a couple months' time. But not only that, see what he can do here, we're going to see the picks and bans between these two as Max wants to continue that trend and get his 5th win on the bounce. So we do have Multifalls and Veiled banned completely outright, and again, psygib gets one of his better maps, or one of his best maps, so to speak, especially this season. He's been very, very strong on Corrupted Keep, and then we would go straight to Deep Embrace afterwards, and then Awoken as a final matchup. But Corrupted Keep, though, very, very standard as they come. The usual Strog versus Ranger matchup, and then Deep Embrace with the BJ versus the Doom, which is going to be interesting in itself. But Awoken is a little bit tricky to discuss as well. The Eisen versus the Visor.
Yeah, they're both opting to ban out the light champions here, just playing pretty more standard. Nobody's even willing to experiment with the heavies, so good to see, yeah, pretty equal across the board today. A bit more unusual on Awoken, as you say, but when you get down to the last map, it's more just becoming preference picks. So I feel it's fairly even across the board. Probably the most interesting pick for me there is that BJ on Deep Embrace, slightly more unorthodox, obviously lacking the clear mobility to dominate the map as somebody like a Doom does, but we've seen the strategy move away from needing that as a necessity. So yeah, a little bit interesting to see just how Maxter intends to use the dual wield on that particular map, but otherwise it's more or less as you would expect. We actually did see Visor creeping into the meta a little bit towards the beginning of the stage with regards to Visor on Awoken, but it's definitely dropped off a lot since then, and we've seen Ison more of a preferred pick here and there on Awoken, so not massively unusual, but still a little bit more different when potentially you could have been a scale bearer or thrown into the mix. So obviously we've seen a lot of clutch if people like to play that. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I would love to know in terms of your prediction how you feel like this is going to go. Normally I would say a Maxter 3-0, but I think I might be leaning more towards a 2-1. Corrupted Keep, we know that psygib can be very, very good on. We've seen it time and time again, and a lot of the maps he's been scraping by after top players have actually been on Corrupted Keep as well. And the BJ pick, I want to see what Maxter can do with that. If it was something a little bit different, then in terms of champion picks, then I probably would have decided more to 3-0. But again, the Eisen versus the Visor matchup, it's a matchup we very rarely see on Awoken. We have seen the Eisen and Visor pop up on very rare occasions on Awoken, but because of it being map number 3 and all the light champions have been removed, of course, that's probably why they've gone for those picks overall.
I don't see anything in there that would suggest it not being a Maxter 3-0 for me. I feel that psygib as a player just enjoys to play and enjoys to fight, and in many ways that will play into Maxter's strength, and I just feel that he'll struggle to keep up with the raw power that Max is going to bring, basically. Yeah,
we know Maxter, in terms of combat skills, loves a good punch-up down. Yes. Loves it. And psygib is probably well aware of that as well. And I was curious to see how things were going to go. We've seen Maxter pull out some crazy picks. We've even seen him use a slash a while back on Corrupted Keep. But of course, he wants to keep things slow and steady and normal for this point. The stroke range has always been the go-to matchup. We don't really see the BJ pick as often as we used to anymore, or the Galena as often anymore. And it's pretty standard, so to speak. But let's see how things are going to turn out here. I kind of feel like if it was going to be a 2-1, this is psygib's best map and best chance to do so. If not, then I do agree with that 3-0 prediction as well. As we're going to be kicking things off here from Maxter's perspective.
Yeah, it's an interesting point about somebody like a Slash. Maybe it's a little bit of respect there from Max's point of view as to the way in which he expects psygib to play this. As we said, he wants to fight, and there's the rocket to open it as well. And picking a slightly tankier champion will enable that. Forced to pop the orb already as Max is keeping the aggression on in the opening 20 seconds of Corrupted Keep, but unable to finish off psygib until now.
Finds him in that red room, but picks up the light as he picks up the Mega. Heavy is still up, mind you. And still hasn't been picked up. This is good delay coming out from psygib. Max is going to be completely thrown off by that, even with a 5-second margin. So hopefully this will give psygib a little bit of leeway later on to contest that Heavy later.
Yeah, but if you're doing that, you really do have to win the next fight around the Mega. Otherwise, that whole advantage slips away, and already he's worked himself out of position here. Good play by Maxter, keeping away. She gets a little bit punished there and gets out fairly unscathed, all things considered. He's even taken position for this Heavy as well, so I have to take back everything I just said, Lethal, as he managed to make it work to his advantage.
So I'll let you off there, Dan. It's all good as Maxter taking a huge amount of damage, left on 49, but in a perfect position to recover and keeping his distance as well away from that LG if he can with that heavy machine gun. But we know how useful this heavy machine gun is on Corrupted Keep. As Maxter now having to back away once more and have to play the cat and mouse game once again. And of course, gets a little bit of damage, but not as much as he would like or intended. Of course, picking up that light previously, just gonna stand his ground and wait for psygib to charge on round from that red room here. So Mega's up in 12. Good rocket damage count from Maxter. Great damage, but the direct, which psygib has been known for the last couple of months. Especially on to get another direct again. But Maxter finally takes him down, but took a huge amount of damage as the Mega has now been picked up by Maxter.
And a while psygib appears once again as he just wants to fight, although he's not really in the position here. He's praying for a big shotgun blast, but it's not to be. And now psygib is very much on the back foot. Maxter with the timing now of both major items. He's back into this in terms of control. psygib has no items to work with. Playing the Ranger on this map means he's always got the get out of jail free card when the orb is up, which it is now. But obviously not really wanting to burn that. He just runs straight on through, hoping to not get spotted. But it's looking bad for psygib now. He needs to find a way to punish these pickups.
Oh my god, that direct from that range as well. And this is going to be a... I love this for Max as well. It's a great chance for him to secure his frag, but at the same time, he doesn't want to take too much damage in the process. But even though psygib was cleaned up, good damage from him to counteract that push where he could have actually had a much bigger stack after that initial engagement, but still looking to pick up the megas. psygib now to back away. We'll find him greeted by that Pika. It's just a matter of time here before he tries to clean up, but it looks like psygib does get away and leaves him for the time being picking up that heavy.
Big deciding factor at the moment is just the way in which Max is able to do a significant amount more entry damage and chip damage. So with psygib, it's been pretty much all or nothing when he takes his engagements, whereas Max is weakening his opponent up, softening him, so when there is a fight, it often falls in his favor. And that's why we're already seeing this 5-1 scoreline, because of the efficiency that we see from Max's POV. And unfortunately for psygib, he's also unable to find any way to do any sort of damage on these pickups, and that just means Maxter can play pretty much as free as he likes around the map and just take these raw engagements now.
Using that Pika just to keep him pinned down into the corner. He's out to circulate around once again, goes for the TP, finds it with the LG.
So
Mega's going to be, it's very unfortunate as he wasn't able to pick that up, but nevertheless, Maxter extends his lead now up by 6. The heavy will be picked up and now needs to try and claw back from this 5 frag deficit, and with the stack Maxter has right now, this is seriously not looking good as we're approaching the halfway stage.
No, but that's the 3rd time in a row that Max is pressuring that light armor, and psygib needs to be aware of these movements, aware of the timings better. So what he should be trying to do is delay the pickup of that heavy or delay the exit to try and do some damage so he can get these clean pickups. But at the moment, just by standing around that light area, he's giving the whole middle of the map away to Maxter. This is better, trying to pressure it, but the execution is not good.
That's not the best. Still continue to eat up these lights. Problem is he's going to be making that 9.
Yikes.
Yeah, this is a
huge
yikes, especially with that direct as well. This isn't go from bad to worse here. Still hasn't picked up a heavy machine gun, mind you, yet.
Yeah, and that's big. He's only done 150 damage with the heavy machine gun, which should be a critical weapon when you're out of control of this map. But he just looks a bit clueless at the moment. He's got no items. Max is sort of full control, dictating the tempo, and he's not being punished.
No, not at all. Just denying the weapons away from psygib, as well as eating up all these lights and having great item control so far, Dan. He's already got 17 items and psygib's only got 6.
Yeah. Yikes.
Don't know about miracles, Dan, but I don't think this is going to happen. I think this is just going to be quite one-sided here, sadly, for psygib. We know how good he is on corrupted keep, but Max is just playing out of his mind. He's playing a near-perfect game in terms of just not giving psygib any room to kind of get back in this matchup with the, eating up the lights, pressuring on his items, and denying some of the weaponry on spawn. It's just making it really tough for him so far.
Yeah, he is. And this is absolutely suffocating for psygib at the moment, because he's pretty much just relying on moments of magic to do any sort of damage to Maxter, let alone even dream of getting a frag against Maxter. So this is what I'm talking about. He's not doing enough to manufacture the frags. For instance, that was just a little bit of an overextension for Maxter. He definitely needs to do more of this chip damage, more spam, and just play a little bit smarter, but it is a frag nonetheless, even if it is 14-2.
Oh, cleans him up with that LG almost, but he will do it in the end. But take a bit of damage in the meantime from that previous rocket, but psygib knows that it's all gas, no brake here if he wants to bring this back by 11 frags, but it's going to be very, very, very unlikely here as he's already taken way too much damage. Good. 70 from that previous rocket, gets greeted by the Pika and says goodnight to him whilst waiting for that Mega. 2.5 minutes left. And Maxter now just going to continue on with this aggression circling around.
And the pattern repeats itself. Oh, okay.
Well, there's one way to get a frag, but he's on 2 HP here, Dan. So this is,
yeah, but he got a teabag situations.
Exactly.
That's what counts. He's the real victor here.
Oh dear, 2 minutes left, 12 fragged, of course not going to happen, but he's going to try and miss as competitive as possible. Good rockets, and Maxter still comes out on top on that previous bout. This is going to be greeted again with the LG. Good LG, flying back towards the TP exit. And Maxter now just waiting for that next light, but psygib now just trying to make a go of it. Get a bit cheeky, isn't he, young Maxter? A little bit cheeky there.
A little bit. Well, it's all good fun. 18-4. It's like psygib, yeah. Psygib needs to play a little bit less like a bulldog next time. Just gets out of spawn and holds the W key, irrespective of circumstance. This is what I meant. It's, you can't do that against Maxter.
You naughty boy. Maxter's still put him in that red room, picks up the light, but yeah, Heavy's going to be up. He's going to catch him off guard. Beautiful rocket, picks up the Heavy. Only 40 seconds left here, Dan. 20-4. Can make it 21 almost from what we saw there, but yeah, not a big fan of Heavy machine gun, is he?
Yeah, well, I think shows the type of form that Maxter's in at least.
That is absolutely right. There's still only got 15 seconds left. It can be found in with that Pika. Gets the damage he needs. Going for that Heavy. And gets the direct straight afterwards and finishes him with that LG. But that's a simple deal here. We pretty much knew that from the halfway point. 21-4. Oh, excuse me, make that 22. And Maxter flying on the Sova. A lot of flair coming out from him. A fantastic start in this series.
On psygib's map pick, one of which you were praising his performances on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I'm going my stats here, mate. I'm just going by what I see, but Maxter's just thrown me under the bus in terms of that department, but I'll let him off, it's fine. But yeah, Jesus Christ, 22-4. And yeah, like I said, it was his map pick, so it makes you wonder what's going to happen in these next couple of maps as well. It's going to be very, very tricky here for psygib. It was on EU, so next one will be on NA, but my goodness, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. We'll have to see what psygib can pull out the bag from what we just witnessed as an absolute massacre. Yeah,
this is the problem with psygib in some instances, is that he's a very momentum-based player, I feel. When he gets that control, and as you saw the offset at the start, when he gets that rotation going, he can be quite intimidating because he does hit a lot of very, very good shots. He has a huge damage output, and he can do the basics well. He'll time and rotate. But when he gets locked out of that map, as you saw there, he doesn't really have a plan B or a second gear. It's just no chill, run at your opponent until it works. And if it doesn't work, this is what happens. So this is why I was a little bit worried for this particular matchup against Maxter, because it's quite hard to play that strategy when someone hits harder than you and understands how to play around that. So really well played by Maxter. I don't think he was tested too much in this map. Definitely going to be a different story though with a plan B now in a rail. So the challenge for psygib on Deep Embrace is, if he doesn't have the control, what are you going to do? And that's what we're going to see, a bit more smarts coming out from the Moroccan.
That's right indeed. At least psygib will have a little bit more mobility in hand, but yeah, my goodness, if it's anything from what we just witnessed on Corrupted Keep, and now we've got a rail in hand, which is going to make matters even worse for psygib, considering Maxter, you know, in terms of his trend, with the rail and how efficient he can be, yeah, it's going to be a real tough ask here. And, you know, you're going back to that 3-0 prediction. I'll agree with you now. I was hoping Corrupted Keep will show...
Thanks, man.
it will show a bit of live, but no. It was maybe I was hoping for something a little bit more. But it's just weird because in terms of how psygib performs on Corrupted Keep normally, he plays extremely well. It's how methodical he could be on that map as well. But Maxter didn't really give him any kind of chance in hell in order to actually make that happen. And it's for Maxter, it was just playing his A game.
Yeah, he did. And one of the things about Maxter, in my opinion, is that he's perhaps the best in the game currently at just constant pressure off spawn. When he gets up his opponent, he's incredible at punishing them and racking up those frags back to back, and that's where psygib in particular is very vulnerable. He plays quite methodical off the spawn, and you know, in many instances just wants to rush straight back in, and Maxter punished him. And this is another map where you can have that capability to string the pressure successively. So that's where, again, I'm a little bit worried for psygib. It's just lacking the nuance to get out of those sticky situations.
He normally hits on average about 30 direct rockets last on Corrupted Keep, so it's a little bit of a shock to the system. We didn't see as many.
Why are they fighting here?
I don't know. This is yeah. I'll be honest with you. I was going to say something else, and then I got a little bit shell shocked by what I was witnessing there. But of course, without that light, okay, Max has managed to pick that up, make it still available. As he does pick up the heavy, nonetheless, psygib can have that gentleman's agreement and go for the mega. But now he's got the rail of his own. Hits the first, doesn't hit the second, but he's done enough to keep psygib away. But Max doesn't want that. He wants to charge on in, get close and personal, and start cleaning on up. And he has done with that first frag.
Yep. All brute force again. Maxter punishing that pickup once again, as we said he could. And he's just going to walk on in with 2 weapons instead of 1 and force the Doom away. We hear the Berserk come out to get across to that Mega. Question is, can he get out free? Gets a rail, but not much else at this moment in time. And there you go, clean as you like from Maxter.
Again, not the patience from Maxter. Could have obviously pushed on in with the rockets, but just wants to make the assumption and a good read for psygib to rotate round towards that murder hole there. Good rail coming up from psygib. Second will be crucial. Picks up the heavy, so even if he does get taken down, at least he's burnt that. But it looks like he's able to recover. Hits another rail, going to the percentages. It's 71 for Maxter, but 42 for psygib. He has, of course, fired twice as much, but he needs to hit a lot more in order to come back in this match.
Yeah, but this is the positive now in that he wasn't in control, but with the rail in hand, he can play slightly more passive, not feel obliged to just rush his opponent. As we saw in the previous map, he wasn't particularly keen on using any long-range hit scan. He just wanted to fight, whereas at least with the rail, he can now soften Maxter up before making those maneuvers. This is where it becomes a little bit more dangerous. Not necessarily scary, but at least dangerous. And he's got a big split between the major. Okay, he's just gone full man mode and wants to fight. He doesn't even care that Maxter's got 2 LGs. He's just going to run at him. Continue to hold W and continue to hold W, and then it works.
Yeah, surprise attack nonetheless. Manages to get away with it. Heavy is up, but Rocket jumps up towards it. Good heavy machine gun damage coming up from Maxter.
That was the reverse of a surprise attack. He just popped berserk and ran at Maxter. But this time it works. He's now managed to nearly tie it up.
So yeah, I meant to psygib just charge on in like that and still like going forth. As soon as I had the dual wield, he was like, yeah, right.
I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah. I'll chill for a bit now and just assess the situation as Maxter still holding his ground. 2 seconds left until his heavy appears before his very eyes. Manages to grab that, and this could be a good time for him to get this full frag if he does some damage with those rockets, but sadly he could not earlier on. Just holding that angle with the rail. Goes in with the rockets. Good directs. psygib does decent amount of damage as well. But it looks like it's going to be all tied up here, as now 3 apiece between the 2.
And this is where we talked about where his strength lies now. It's playing that rotation, keeping the items on lockdown, and then just bullying his opponent with just raw damage output. And now the pressure's definitely on Maxter to try and find a way to slow this tempo, because as we've seen so far, psygib does not know how to slow the tempo. So Maxter has to find a way to assert himself on the map.
Certainly does, and obviously keeping the rail out of his hands as well. 62 from that last tri-bolt. Mega is up, but look at the damage psygib has managed to do. He's only on 2 HP. Maxter on his tail here with that LG. Doesn't get up, and if he did, may have still been taken down, but at least would have burnt the heavy. So now Maxter's got all the goodies.
Yeah, that was a big moment not to burn the heavy, as you say. Pretty much always going to go down, but allowing Maxter to get in on that major item means he can reassert his foothold onto this map. He's got the Mega now. psygib has absolutely nothing to do except try and hold this territory. His next objective is to win this heavy. And he can't do that. He does hit a rail, though. And a second, in fact.
Even a third now, yeah. At least he's keeping his stacks level pegging, but psygib now, even though he had 2 good rails, just trying to hold on to map control just a little bit, but of course with the stack he can't continue on from that position. Mega's been picked up, heavy's in 8. Max has got there nice and early. Just trying to witness or find out what psygib is going to be up to. It seems like psygib's having absolutely none of it, not even really gonna make any kind of attempt to contest it, but with his stack he can't really do that anyway, but at least he picks up that light back to his default. But Maxter now just biding his time here. He knows once it gets that first rail, maybe even a second on top, then he can go forth and just using that dual just to be a little bit of a threat here and just throw psygib off in terms of those audio cues. But good LG damage coming up from psygib there from above.
Yeah, but just like how cautious Maxter is being, even after the pickups of these items, because this is the period of time where, when you're in control, you're generally the most vulnerable. You pick up a major item, you feel like everything's going your way, you can take on the world, but that's when your opponent wants to punish you. And Maxter is managing those situations perfectly.
Great rail there from Maxter. Needs to be very careful here. Mega is up, but again, just get 2 over ZS for that Mega. Switching over. Hasn't got any rail ammo left, but does have the heavy machine gun. He's still got to play the distance game. Tickled over the tri-bolt, but gives him the info he needs. That psygib's going to head straight for that heavy. As Mega's up in the next 20 seconds. As Max is still trying to get another rail from that angle. psygib, good read from there, but misses the rail. And directly underneath him, he's going to try and fire or throw down a few rockets here to get a bit of damage before he goes, but literally whips out the dual wield, and the rail comes out from psygib, and he does pick up that Mega to tie things up once again.
Yeah, psygib's doing a much better job this time of managing Maxter, and it's all been down to that rail once again. Got a huge amount more damage than Maxter in terms of rail. 1,300 damage from psygib, only 720 from Maxter. We don't often see that, him being out-railed. And it's been the factor that's really got him back into this series.
Yeah, a little bit strange in itself. But saying that, though, Max has hit a very important rail. Still gets the heavy, mind you. Hits a second. It's back to weighing now. That Mega will be up in 10 seconds directly underneath him. And psygib is actually going to circulate around. Rather than raining down an airstrike. Hasn't got any rail, sadly, but does have that tri-bolt to try and tickle him a tad. But it's going to use that berserk to secure that Mega for extra insurance. Heavy's up in 5 as well, and psygib's now in prime position to try and take this lead.
Yeah, Max is very weak, very weak. He's doing enough of a job of trying to delay psygib, and he's not taking any damage at the moment, but it does feel inevitable that psygib's going to find an in, and he's got the stack just to bully his way in, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here. He's not been able to connect with anything, though, and that has just evened up those stacks already, so really well played by Maxter on the defense there. He's not confident enough to take the Mega, but he just wants to punish it. 2 rails, he knows how weak psygib is now, and that's won himself a heavy, so incredible defensive play from Maxter.
Yeah, big plays, and we've only got 1:10 left remaining. psygib's got top mid control. It's going to be greeted, but he actually misses the rail and hits him with a few, well, only one good rocket for is going to make that a second, but sadly hit the wall. Now we've only got a minute left. Both players almost on equal stacks. Maxter with a tiny bit of an advantage. Comes up with the LG, pushes him back towards the murder hole, using the berserk to get away. Does manage to, and that heavy's going to be up, but Maxter's already above him here. This is going to be crucial for Maxter to take this second map.
Yeah, huge. Both items now back-to-back. He's done lots of damage as well. You can see how weak psygib is. He walked through that murder hole. Actually experiencing the name in real time, and now it has to be a frag for Max. It doesn't connect. He lets psygib gets away, but for how long? He's still so incredibly weak. 39 HP, gets a bubble, but he's still railable, and there's nothing up on the map at the moment. At least nothing that is achievable for psygib. He's just going to have to pray he doesn't get hit.
Beautiful.
And Maxter finds the angle with 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing he can do now. Great back-to-back rail from Maxter just to solidify that map to win. And yeah, it was for Maxter in that position, he was fine. The light was already picked up top mid. He knew that there was going to be absolutely no armor anywhere on the map unless he has to go all the way from heavy side down to the bottom near the murder hole, only light left remaining. And he had plenty of time, of course, that meant to go for that mega and then see what he goes for the heavy afterwards. But yeah, that was ridiculous stuff. But you were right though, psygib had a better hit percentage in terms of the rail at one point, but Max just switched it on towards the end and looked a lot better in comparison. Obviously the turning point being with psygib having that huge stack advantage and having great defense and reactionary play coming up from Maxter as he was going for that mega afterwards.
Yeah, that around the 8-minute mark is definitely where the biggest turning point was. He couldn't lock down his opponent. Maxter did a great job to skirt away from any potential damage, and then when psygib did find the smallest of openings, he actually got punished for it. So remarkable play by Maxter on the defense, but it's just a completely different psygib this map than what we saw last map. Far more calculated, slowed the tempo down. Obviously the rail was a massive factor in that, but even that irrespective, just the way he played around the items just was far more calculated, was what was particularly impressive, and was really unfortunate actually not to walk away with a victory, or at least take that into overtime. So full credit to Maxter to be able to maintain his presence of mind. But as we say with these players that haven't had the best seasons, they have these moments of glory. It's just how do they have then that next layer of consistency where they can take that and turn it into more and more maps.
Yeah, it's just breaking through that brick wall or the skill ceiling, isn't it, to then be able to carry on with that level of consistency there. 7-5 for Maxter, actually doing much better on each other's maps, which is actually quite funny in itself. It's gone from a one-sided matchup to a very close affair, and now we're going to go to Awoken in a champion matchup, which we're not normally used to. We have seen these champions picked one side or the other, but not really together that often on Awoken with the Eisen versus the Visor. And I remember you made a very valid point, you know, on Veil between Kron and Nosfer earlier with the fact that, yeah, if you're going to use the Eisen, you need to really use the turret till its full effect, or at least make some use of it, because it's going to be completely useless to a certain degree. But the problem is, I kind of feel like it's a little bit more difficult on Awoken to actually make use of the turret.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's always ways you can use it. You can use it, you know, cheesy on the jump pad by the Mega. You can use it up on top mid to block any spam on the entryway. If you're just using it in fight alone, just trucking it in the doorway and then running in, that's a really simple use just to block the damage, right? And so there isn't, you know, these OP positions that you would see on somewhere like a Veil where you put it and it's going to do a lot of damage consistently, but you have to be smarter with it. And that's the key. If you're going to pick Eisen, you just got to know how to use it. But generally, you'd see it more in the Mega room. There's just more angles for it, and it can block a lot more damage in that space, or in and around defending the Mega. But yeah, you definitely have to use it smarter. But the same goes for Visor, right? If you use the ability and you don't get anything off of it, then I mean, you're just a nothing at that point. You just run around the map with your stack. So you have to be smart with both of these champions, with both these abilities, which is why you don't see them an awful lot on Awoken.
That is true, yeah. You know, like you said, with the mega jump pad with the turret, and obviously leaving the turret on the LG spawn as well for when they come up, it's going to make things a lot more easier for them. And you're right though, like sometimes with the Eisen, they can make the make Timmy very useful. It can be completely obsolete. We never really get much of a middle ground here, but we'll see what he can do with that. So it's going to be Pfizer versus the Eisen matchup here going into Awoken as Max is now coming up 2-0 in this series. And we're already having a little bit of a scuffle already on the nail. Straight away comes out with the gauntlet kill from the get-go as Maxter already up 1-0 around the 9-second mark.
That was the most stereotypical psychic death I've ever seen in my life. Just off spawn, go for a brawl, and it doesn't work out. We already talked about the abilities. Max is using it actually as more of an informational tool. So he's chucked it up on that rail gun, not necessarily to defend it, but just to let him know when his opponent has a rail. So pretty interesting use of it.
He's actually repositioned it at this stage, but psygib finds it, but Maxter knows exact location and his whereabouts, and just find a few nails just to confirm that. But psygib's like, maybe give it 20 more seconds, hopefully he won't know, but oh my God.
I'll allow it.
I thought he would say something like that, but yeah, also a very interesting start. We had a massive punch up around nail, and now things have taken a complete opposite end of the spectrum. Here's Max just in that choke point, throws a turret back around and is taking out every single turret efficiently here. Mega's up in the next 5 seconds, Dan.
Yeah, he was obviously trying as best he could to prevent the rail pickup. Definitely appreciating the importance of that weapon, not only on the map, but just in psygib's hands. We saw it all of last map. And already we're just seeing this far more slow-paced play from Maxter now, playing the angles. He doesn't want to get into any brute force duels with psygib, because that's what psygib wants.
Certainly does in this LG battle, still very back and forth. Both players, especially Jim's rails, hasn't got any rocket ammo left, sadly, but at least he's got the turret and he hits the rail. He's going to go for the 2-for-2, but God, just in the nick of time, he hits the rail, but the problem is he's picked up the mega. psygib's going to be fine. And Heavy's up in 5, and he's going to try and make sure to get in position for it before Maxter even attempts to trade. But of course, with the LG spawn, it's going to be way, way too far away. And this is looking a lot better from psygib compared to that craziness at the very beginning.
Oh dear. A little bit greedy from psygib's point of view there, trying to cut off Maxter, just definitely not quick enough. Turret goes into the corner in case psygib wants to push. Preparations in advance. psygib just drops that a bit. Oh, what?
Oh my God, I thought he might go off the map. I couldn't see exactly where his position, but yeah, very dicey. 146 from those last 2 rockets. Still whipping out the rockets. Let's see if we can clean up with the LG, but great finisher with that last rocket as well. 3 minutes have passed as Maxter now getting into the groove of things a little bit here. Picks up the Mega, Heavy's up in 12, both in position for it. It's just a matter of who is going to get it, but of course with Maxter with the stack advantage and with that turret. Oh, good LG coming out from psygib though here, Dan.
Yeah, a bit surprised Maxter did drop so freely there, but nevertheless, he picks up a frag, picks up an item, and with such a big split between the major items as they meet. No, there's no ammo for Maxter. He tries to swap to the rocket, but it's just not to be. Oof. All right. Chaos ensues.
It's not my day today. Actually, no, it's not my series today. I was talking about how great psygib was on Cup to keep, and memory that happened. And then I mentioned about one of the minor things that Max has fixed is his ammo management. He goes through the TP, no rockets, no LG. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But still, though, psygib does get away. Mega's not for another 15 though, so he's going to continue that recovery process towards LG. But Maxter knows. Hits the rail, only left with 8 HP. Backing away once again, and Max is still on the hunt here, Dan. Just a matter of time really until he gets to clean the van up. 18 HP, finally finishes him up with that previous rail. 4.5 minute mark, hits that first rail on spawn with a 3 frag lead.
Yeah, now he's in trouble here. Maxter comes flying on in, he knows how weak his opponent is. Somehow Maxter's just not finishing him off. It's actually cost him nearly 100 stack to try and just get a frag, which he should have got incredibly easily. Oh no. Oh no.
Nice peekaboo. Nice peekaboo there with the shotty. It's Maxter now. I've got the turret down. case he does pass through. But he's going to be perfectly fine. Next item is going to be that heavy in 15 seconds. Maxter got the majority of the goodies, all the goodies now, but he's got that tri-bolt. In terms of rail percentages, 66 for both players, but Max has hit a lot more. Good rocket looking to go for the other. Gets away, but tickles him a little bit more with that 35, as Max has got to be a little bit careful here. The turret does do a fair amount, and then oh my God, what a combo with the tri-bolt straight afterwards, so just to complement that further.
A little bit of a tag team action there, and it just shows you how important the turret can be, even though it's not particularly doing anything. You know, just the basic information allows him to line up those tri-bolt, and that's enough. And very quickly, a competitive game is being moved into a fairly comfortable lead for Maxter with just 4.5 minutes to go. 7-2 is quite sizable on Awoken. And all things considered, we haven't seen an awful lot of use coming out from the visor relative to the turret. So psygib needs to start making more things happen here.
He has picked up that Mega. I was waiting for him to go for that choke point. Not going to happen. And Heavy's up in 12. Still possible for psygib, but the problem is Max is just... his aim skill is just really showing off now in this third map. He's bouncing back up to try and catch him off guard. Hits him with another rail. Backs away again. And there we go. Wow. Another peek through there. psygib now been taken out of the area twice. No more rockets left, though. So you have to chill with that rail and the LG. It's backing away again.
Yeah, Max is beginning to feel his groove right now. He's been able to find a way in which to restrain the chaos that psygib wants to bring. And it's just absolutely punishing him. And a big part of it, once again, is just down to that item control. In the previous map, psygib was able to find more effectiveness to get on these major items. But on this map, he's just not been able to. It's been a little bit more aimless. And in response to that, Max has been able to use that space far more efficiently. And the rail has been on point for Maxter this game.
Yeah, bang on the money, 66% rails after 21 shots. Maxter, prime position to make this a 3-0 series scoreline. psygib has rocket jumped over, but Max is still with top mid and that choke point covered. Still quite underneath, but psygib is going to take that risk to go for the mega, but the LG, my goodness, and then the rail straight afterwards.
Yeah.
174, now he's looking to try and see if he can recover around that LG spot. And I think Maxter may have thought that he was going to rotate over the tri-bolt and go back around, but instead psygib's actually lurked around a little bit longer. Use that turret just to keep in there a bit longer as well. And we've got heavy up now, and mega will be up in 5. So Maxter, we're going to see if he's just going to wait and see where he goes first and prioritise the kill beforehand as he hits that first rail. And I still like this from Max. They're playing very unorthodox here, but it's going to cost him potentially.
Yeah, he thought he could punish psygib. A bit greedy there, but on the flip side, psygib should never have allowed Maxter to get a mega, let alone a free mega in the previous rotation. Just not optimal play whatsoever, and now he's been punished for it. 9-3. We're obviously just seeing this game out now as the scoreline is huge, and psygib really isn't in a position to forge a comeback at this point. All he can do is try and run at his opponent and just continue to pray he connects with absolutely everything. But from what we've seen so far, Maxter is just playing very clinical.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's dissecting this map down to a T. Pretty much mathematically impossible now, and all psygib can do is just keep this as competitive as possible in terms of score lines. Goes 2 for 2. I'm going to go for the third. It's going to be backing away. Mega's up for 15. 50 seconds left. Does have Timmy back and ready. He's going to actually put it straight for the TP. Misses the first rocket. Gets a little bit of damage with the second, but he is railable. And speaking of rails, he just hits one for himself as he has backed away, but could be a matter of time to see if I could catch him. Oh, no, he's not able to, but at this point here, Dan, damage has already been done.
Yeah, Maxter playing way too good to even think of allowing a comeback from psygib's point of view. A much, much more clinical map relative to map 2. But a really fun series for both these players. Again, we've got to give lots of credit to psygib, particularly for map 2, but ultimately Maxter had too much power for psygib today.
Well, he kept it a little bit more competitive, and yeah, psygib saying it was really easy. So good. I'm glad you thought it was easy, mate. Really made it quite spicy for the first and last frag, anyway. Maxter though, 70% rail. That's the track record we're accustomed to, so to speak. It wasn't looking too good on Leap and Brace in terms of rail accuracy until the very end, to the last couple of minutes. But yeah, Max's rail accuracy seems to be on par compared to what we witnessed previously. But psygib did keep it a lot more competitive in the second and third map. The first map was just crazy. Even with Maxter not really using that heavy machine gun that much in that first map, he just... You know, the man enjoys being up close and personal anyway, so I don't think it's going to affect him too much. We know everyone has their own style.
Yeah, map 1 was just the absolute wrong play style from psygib. He didn't show any nuance on how to fight back into that game. He just wanted to go toe-to-toe, and it wasn't working. He had no items to do that, so it was not the right strategy at all. Map 2, far more calculated, far more reserved, was able to assert himself into the map, get good control, and he was hitting a lot. Just really unfortunate not to push that to overtime. Some mistakes in the mid game, and then Maxter showing his just experience in defensive prowess towards the end. Whereas this map, I felt Maxter was able to play to his strengths and play around the angles a lot more. On map 2, he wasn't able to get into that groove, into that comfort zone. He was forced onto the back foot, and it was more psygib setting the tempos, which was really stressing Maxter's aim. Whereas in this map, when he's getting comfortable, he was able just to abuse those angles, and that's why you see him hitting that 70%. He had better positioning, he had the full item control. He was the one dictating the movement and just reading his opponent, and it was actually really smart use of Timia quite a lot of times as well relative to the piercing side. So really well played by Maxter. It was only a 9-4, but that really didn't feel like psygib had much of a hope in that map.
And that's why with the odd few items here and there, psygib didn't even bother contesting it, because he knew that with Maxter having such a comfortable positioning and angle that he's going to hit absolutely everything. And it's very hard to really, you know, like I said before, like brute force some of those situations. You can't really do that. We saw him one time bottom rail try and circulate into heavy machine gun into the TP to maybe not throw him off, but just try and at least get a better position or better hold and try and get a weapon in his arsenal. But even then, Maxter was just all over him. But this is what happens when you give someone a lot more room to breathe with full map control. You know, they are going to pull the 70%, like we've seen Sirius do it time and time again. But also at the same time with Sirius, when you make him feel extremely uncomfortable, it still plays very well, but obviously the percentages aren't going to be nowhere near as high. But well done, Dan. Congratulations. 3-0. You predicted it correctly. I was wrong, so I messed up entirely. But that was the second series all done and dusted. Still got 4 more left to go. We've got Sib versus Strong Sage, and then we've got 3 absolute bangers as well straight afterwards. Finger, Navik, Sirius Razy, Kilson versus Zen. So do not go anywhere, guys. We've got Sib and Strong Sage coming up next, so we'll see you in a few minutes.